Welcome, history enthusiasts, to a journey into the heart of 19th century Africa, a land of towering savannas, fierce warriors, and a king whose name still echoes across centuries, Shaka Zulu. Today, we unravel the saga of how a marginalized prince rose from exile to forge one of history's most formidable empires. But this is not just a tale of conquest, it's a story of genius, brutality, and the unyielding will of a man who reshaped a continent. Before we begin, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell. You won't want to miss this epic chronicle. To understand Shaka Zulu's meteoric rise, we must first step into the world he was born into, a world of fractured clans and simmering rivalries. In the late 1700s, southern Africa was not a unified kingdom, but a patchwork of chiefdoms, each vying for land, cattle, and survival. The Zulu, then a minor clan of fewer than 2,000 people, were led by Shaka's father, Senzangakona, a chief whose name meant, "He who acts with good reason," but reason alone could not shield his people from the era's brutal politics. Cattle were the lifeblood of these societies, symbols of wealth and power. Raids between clans were common, and alliances shifted like the savanna winds. Yet amidst this chaos, a spark was lit in 1787 with the birth of Senzangakona's illegitimate son, Shaka. His mother, Nandi, the Sweet One, was a Lengini woman, and their union broke tribal taboos. Branded an outcast, Shaka grew up in exile, mocked as the fatherless child. But hardship forged him. Herding cattle alone on wild plains, he learned strategy from the land itself. The bullying he endured, a lesson in resilience. The scorn of his peers, fuel for ambition. This was the crucible that shaped a king, a boy who would one day turn the age of clans into the age of empires. Exile is often the forge of greatness. For Shaka, cast out by his father and ostracized by the Lengini, survival became his first battle. But fate intervened when the Mthethwa, a rising power under the shrewd chief Dingiswayo, offered sanctuary. Dingiswayo was no ordinary ruler. He was a reformer who valued talent over lineage. Seeing potential in the fierce young exile, he invited Shaka into his army, a decision that would alter the course of history. Under Dingiswayo's mentorship, Shaka's genius erupted. He scorned the traditional asigi, a lightweight throwing spear, and crafted the ikuwa, a brutal stabbing weapon named for the sound it made when pulled from a foe's body. He drilled warriors relentlessly, barefoot on thorny terrain, to harden them. Most revolutionary was his bullhorn formation, a three-pronged attack that encircled enemies like a beast's horns. By his mid-20s, Shaka had become Dingiswayo's most feared commander, crushing rival clans. Yet ambition simmered. The Mthethwa had given him an army, but Shaka hungered for a kingdom. The year was 1816, when word reached Shaka that Dingiswayo had been ambushed and killed by Zwaid, king of the rival Ndwandu. He saw not tragedy, but opportunity. The Mthethwa empire crumbled, and Shaka, now a battle-hardened general, turned his gaze homeward. Zululand was ruled by his half-brother Siguyana, a weak and unpopular king, with a cadre of 500 loyal warriors, many of whom had fought alongside him for years. Shaka marched back to claim his birthright. Siguyana's reign lasted mere days. Accounts suggest Shaka's agents strangled him, leaving no heir to challenge the throne. But this was no mere fratricide. It was a calculated strike to unify the Zulu under a single, iron-fisted vision. At his coronation, Shaka stood bare-chested, anointed with sacred bile from a slaughtered bull, and declared, "From this day, the Zulu do not beg, they take." Yet power came at a price. To secure loyalty, Shaka purged dissenters, replacing clan elders with battle-tested commanders. The Zulu were no longer a tribe, they were a weapon, and Shaka their smith. With the throne secured, Shaka unleashed a revolution. He dismantled tribal loyalties, grouping warriors into Amabudo, age-regimented units bound not by clan, but by loyalty to him alone. Men were forbidden to marry until earning his permission in battle, channeling their primal energy into war. Women, too, were mobilized, managing supply lines and healing the wounded. But Shaka's genius had a dark twin, paranoia. Dissenters were impaled on stakes, their corpses left to rot as warnings. Even a cough during his speeches could mean death. His spies, the Izinduna, infiltrated every village, rooting out traitors. When his mother Nandi died in 1827, grief devoured him. He ordered a year of mourning, crops were banned, milk, a sacred symbol of life, was spilled, and thousands slain for insufficient sorrow. This was the Mfecane, the crushing. Tribes fleeing Shaka's wrath ignited a domino effect of displacement, redrawing southern Africa's map. The Zulu Empire rose, but its foundations were stained with ash and blood. Nanda's death in 1827 shattered Shaka's fragile psyche. He banned for a year, decreeing that even the earth must mourn. Thousands starved. Milk, the lifeblood of Zulu culture, was poured onto the ground. Warriors who showed no tears were executed. His tyranny grew erratic, a far cry from the visionary who once united nations. On September the 24th, 1828, his half-brothers Dingain and Longana, aided by the disgraced advisor Mbafa, cornered him in his compound. Shaka, unarmed and betrayed, uttered his final taunt. "You think you will rule this land? Insects will eat it first." His body was dumped in an empty grain pit, denied the royal burial he'd crafted for others. Yet his empire endured. Dingain inherited a military machine so potent that decades later, the Zulu would humiliate the British at Isandlwana. Today, Shaka's name is both reviled and revered, a symbol of African resistance and the peril of absolute power. Shaka Zulu's history is etched into the bones of Africa, a legacy of fire and iron. Was he the visionary who united a fractured land, or the tyrant who bathed it in blood? History whispers both truths. His empire, born from ash, outlived him to defy colonizers and inspire generations. Today, his spirit echoes through every warrior's chant, every child who bears his name. If this journey through Zululand moved you, smash that like button and share it with a fellow history lover. Your support fuels our quest to resurrect forgotten legends. Next time, we'll cross the Alps with Hannibal's elephants, an epic tale of strategy and survival. Until then, remember, history isn't just about kings and conquests. It's about us. Stay curious. Stay subscribed.